Guys, welcome. Rule 0. Guys are all here. You guys know the deal. You know John. You know Stirling. You know Troy. You know Rollo.
Hello
you
there, children. How's it going?
It's sports. It's such like a 1997 gamer thing. I love it. All right, I guess I'll do like the how you guys all doing, but everybody's happy and smiling and COVID's going on, so why wouldn't you be fucking happy about it? I'll just go straight to the topic. I'm going to ask you guys a question.
If you work in a team, you should be using Monday.
The hell?
Sorry, guys.
Welcome to our Monday.com organizational meeting.
Sponsored. Raid Shadow Legends. No, it was something I realized a couple months back. John and I were having a little argument where we were talking about pickup and how, and I think Troy, you were on my side on this one, where I like the idea of going out, the just hitting on girls, getting better, more charismatic. I found that to be a blast. Whether I picked up or not was kind of like secondary. Where he was like, nope, I want efficient. I want 15 minutes from swiping to smashing. And then it kind of leads to the topic, which has kind of come up otherwise. How is it better to focus on the process, getting better at like as like a tradesperson, whatever you're doing? Or is it better just to focus on the results? Get that money, ejaculate, evacuate, whatever. And it's just a sexual thing. And we'll talk about that. But it also is kind of like business because of what you talked about, Rollo. I'm passing it off to you here about slow money versus fast money. So I'm curious your thoughts here.
Yeah. Well, I have always been, most of us, I think, like certainly you, well, Stirling, I guess, kind of counts in this way as well. But, and actually, I think probably everybody on this panel actually counts. Richard and I have had lives before what we're doing right now, right? We were in different sectors. Like I was in marketing and I was in art direction, and everybody knows I'm in the liquor industry for a long time, still am. Worked in casinos, worked in promotional stuff and tech side of things. So I came from sort of like the private sector, I guess, and I think along with that comes I don't want to call it depth of experience, but you were doing something prior to sort of coming into what I've called the hustle economy in my fourth book. And really that's what we're kind of involved in right now. And a lot of other businesses have had to adapt and evolve into that. And we're getting to the point, I think, right now where like there's what I call the hustle economy. It's like you can say that's in fitness, you can say that's in relationships, you can say that's in whatever the niche market is right now, whether it's like the power of positivity, yay, whatever. But we only see it in those terms because that's sort of like the genre or the niche that we're in, but it applies to so many other things too. So like in my fourth book, I talk about how like a lot of churches are getting into the hustle economy model right now. And we're kind of at a point right now where we're like on the crossover. So there's the people who are sort of like the old way of doing things into the new way of doing things, and we're getting to a point where all the people who who know us or know certain personalities online or whatever, they think that that's all they've ever done, right? They had no other life before they came on the internet. And from my perspective, and I think probably from Rich and Ryan, I know you as well. We had some other gig before we came into doing this. A lot of people, this is their gig. It's the only thing they've ever known. And so I'm going to use an example here, and I hate to use him again, but Jordan Peterson, for example. Jordan Peterson, prior to 2017, was a professor at Ottawa or Ontario?
U of T.
Yeah, exactly. And probably making, I don't know, maybe $85,000 a year, probably under six figures for sure. And goes from that to instant stardom, is catapulted into the public eye, and people liked him because he was talking about gender pronouns and all this other stuff, and that sort of bought him entry into being sort of like the dad I never had. Now he went from old life, from being in this kind of he was a professor kind of thing for most of his career, and now suddenly he's Jordan Peterson. And so from 2017 on to where we're at right now, he's been in what I would call the hustle economy. And he was in the right place at the right time, talking to the right set of guys, packing theaters, talking with Dave Rubin, going on tour with Dave Rubin, and has gone from being this guy who was just sort of in his own career kind of thing to being somebody that somewhat of at least an celebrity to some degree.
Well, a VH1 behind the music documented technically.
Exactly. And so I think that we're kind of on the cusp of guys who had something going before they got into doing what they're doing right now. And then you've got the guys who've been doing this all along. Like, this is the only thing they've ever done. Like, if you look at a lot of the guys who are on YouTube, that's what they've done pretty much their whole lives. They've started a convention and that's all they ever did, right? Or they've started some kind of brand of me that has been what they've done this whole time. They didn't go to school, or maybe they did, but they're not doing what they were training for or studying to do. They got into this, like OnlyFans. Like, women get into the OnlyFans grift right now, and it's like the number one career choice for women entering into college in 2020, right? That's so like, and the only thing is, it's like that career path did not exist before like 2019. And so when you look at those things, what I think what comes along with that is there's this kind of lack of experience, or this lack of business, I guess, acumen. And I've said this before, and you guys know, individually or in a group, you guys have heard me say this. I'm not a get rich quick guy. I'm a get rich slow guy. I want something that's sustainable. I want something you can maintain. I want something that like progressively gets better and better. I'm looking for good investment, something that's like long-term security, that kind of stuff. And what I see happening is, like, I'll use Jordan Peterson again. It's too much, too young, too fast. Now, Jordan Peterson, not a young guy, but too young in the sense that he didn't have the understanding of what he was getting himself into, and therefore he gets himself into trouble. He's going into rehab. He's doing all this kind of stuff. His daughter is running his account, is his PR agent essentially. And so he goes from being, sort of like a mediocre nobody to being like somebody who is like, in the limelight, and it comes too quickly, and they don't have any sort of like frame of reference to understand what they should do with that and to make good, wise decisions about that, because it's the Wild West. They don't know any different. So it's, for me anyways, when I talk about like, get rich slow as opposed to get rich quick, I worry about the guys who jump into stuff like, jump into the niche market, jump into the hustle economy, make a ton of money, and then don't know what to do with it, or don't know what to do with themselves. And either they piss it away, or they put it up their nose, or they acquire some kind of addiction, or they make some really silly choices that gets them canceled or gets them deplatformed as a result of that. And they just simply don't have the background to understand where they should go with it and what they should do with it. Again, part of the process, because they don't have any experience that helps them deal with the process, that even everybody on this panel and everybody I know who's in sort of like this hustle economy knows what to do with it. Like because it's so rapidly changing. Everything is on the fly right now. And
but I mean, it's not new either. Like, this is where I'm passing it to John here. John, I'm sure you've seen the examples of boxers like Tyson, made a bunch of money, lost it all, had to basically, boxing didn't help him for the longest time. He had to learn how to do movies and stuff like that. And I'm sure there's UFC fighters you probably knew who were top of the world when they were earning that big Dana money, all 20 grand.
Happens all the time in MMA, because the promoters don't really invest money into promoting a guy. They just take guys who kind of are already popular and throw them in. So if a guy has a couple big fights, they'll keep just throwing him in there as long as he has buzz on him. Mm-hmm. And you see a lot of guys who, maybe they get a couple good knockouts and they get thrown into huge fights, and they have no business being fighting at top 10 guys, even though they've had exciting knockouts. They've had 3 exciting knockouts in a row. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a top 5 fighter. So they'll take that guy who's had those 3 big knockouts in a row, put him in a big title fight or a title eliminator on a main event card, and then he gets destroyed by somebody who's just in a different class. And then that guy, everybody thinks is garbage, and he has a hard time even cracking the top 10 again, can't make main events. He's just put a glass ceiling above his earning potential at that point, because his handlers didn't appropriately pick fights to build him. They just threw him into big fights to make money right away. If you're not learning from the process, like, there's a good chance you're going to fall off the edge. You're going to get pushed off that ledge, because you're not really supposed to be there.
Which really sucks. I mean, what was it that worked for you? Because you clearly figured out how to have a life past punching a dude in the mouth.
I realized it was just about, they couldn't fuck with you if you were winning. As long as you were winning, they really couldn't do much to you, because that was the only thing in that business model. It was the only thing that guaranteed you getting more money. It was the only thing that guaranteed you getting a bigger fight. was to win. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna play their little BS game and be a circus monkey. I'm just gonna beat people up and win fights.
I'm not a dancing monkey. I'm a fighting monkey.
Yeah,
God damn it! I love
I'm just
that.
gonna fight and win. These are the rules. I'm fighting and winning by them. Pay me.
Fair enough. And then Stirling here, next one too, because like I keep going back to the porn industry. I know you do more than that, but it's always the example I know the least about, so it's the one I learn the most about. Obviously, you're not going to be a dude in his 70s mushroom stamping chicks. So I know there's examples of guys in porn who did too much, too fast, too soon. Didn't focus on the process. Like that one chick, so many girls from porn have like moved into like real life movies. Well, not so many, but a few.
Only a handful have been able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like Stoya pulled it off because she got into what was it called? Entourage, that TV show back in the day.
Yeah.
And there was a few other girls, and like Ron Jeremy's obviously been in a couple of movies because he had like classical acting training and whatnot. But I can tie back this concept into into my relevant experience in the porn world. And I was having this conversation with my buddy yesterday. I was walking around here in Miami, and I just got back to. I haven't shot porn in like 2 months. I've been traveling through Europe. I've landed in Miami. I've started making connections out here in Miami. Thanks very much to Kiki Clout for putting me on blast here. And I got a few shoots, and I did 2 scenes this week. First paid shoots I've done back in like 2 months, and I'm like, ugh, I'm already over this. So I'm like, this is why I took a break. think about that for a second, right? Talking about the process versus the goal. You might think that there's no way in hell you could possibly be sick of like being paid to have sex with beautiful women, but there's a difference between like just getting your end away and then seducing a woman and creating genuine desire from scratch. And that process of creating genuine desire from scratch and then getting the outcome, in my personal opinion, is significantly more fun than just walking into a room, getting a check and being told to mushroom stamp somebody, to use your own phrase, Ryan.
Troy, you gotta fill the space. I can't stop laughing.
Well, mushroom stamping aside, there's a couple of things that spring to mind here for me. The first thing is what Rollo was saying about work and getting into content creation and the hustle economy. I was employed for many years in corporate work, and actually I was employed in sort of media and advertising. And so I'm glad that I had that background, because I think coming just direct into this is going to be tricky for many people, and having that sort of more structured business background I think is really valuable. And the interesting thing for me was that I was working for a lot of very old established media companies, publishers who've been publishing for over 100 years. And what was crazy was, by the end, those people were sitting around in their glass meeting rooms discussing their Snapchat strategy, discussing, well, what are we going to do on Instagram Live? What are we going to do on YouTube? And so what I realized pretty quickly was that everyone has the same publish button, right? And even these big media companies, obviously they're going to have more reach and they've got more money and resource, but essentially they have the same publishing button as we do. And so that in itself helped me, because I thought, well, if these guys, I could just go and do my own thing and, keep all the money from it rather than just being paid a salary. The other thing that I wanted to say, though, in terms of the topic of, is it better to focus on the process rather than the results? In terms of dating and day game and all the rest of it, and game, there is a key point here, I think, and it is that if the result is to have sex, then that result, in my opinion, is qualitatively better if you have had to put some work into getting. Yep. So we're getting some feedback now from.
I think it's probably Rich. Ryan, you're still muted.
Yeah, it's fixed. Go.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just saying that the experience of getting intimate with a girl is qualitatively better if you've had to put some work in. And I would argue, as much as people like John and so on, we're all on board with the dating apps and so on and so forth, but actually, cold approach, going up and actually having to speak to a woman and make something happen. If something happens off the back of that, it tends to be a better experience than, as for example, as somebody in the chat said, if you do pay for play, which of course nobody here is advocating, but nevertheless, if you want sex, you can get it easily in many places. You can just pay for it, but that sex is not going to be as good as what you would have got if you had to go through the process. So I think the process feeds into the result in the case of seduction.
Rich, are you there or no? Or are you just
No, I'm here, man. I'm just I'm in my sauna, so I figured I'd just turn the camera off. You don't want to see my naked, sweaty ass in here.
You guys are awesome.
Bro, I put a sauna in my house last week. It's the best thing I ever did.
Oh, dude, I'm so jealous. Ours is closed down because of COVID. You're selling me on the suburbs. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm telling you, man. I'm so sick of everything getting shut down. I'm just putting it all in my house. Fuck 'em.
All right, I think he's convinced me. It's about earning that money. Don't worry about the process. Oh, but that was the thing. I was talking to the guys about, is it better to focus on the process or just focus on the end? So
Depends.
from a business perspective, if you have a business model that's working well, but you don't build any skills when that business goes tits up, is it better to focus on it and make as much money as you can? Or is it better to maybe take a little bit of hit on the finances, build up some skills, so if that business is done, you could start another one and be okay with it?
I think it really depends on a number of factors. I mean, the way that I see like the process versus the goal is, I'm more of a fan of painting a picture of what the goal looks like, and then just every day recognizing that you need to do what needs to be done to achieve the goal. And if you find yourself doing shit that's not aligned with the goal, then you stop doing that stuff. Men are very like rational, systematic problem solvers. Like it's hardwired into our DNA, I think anyway. So if you have clarity on the end goal, like the end vision, all you have to really do is every day just make sure whatever it is you're doing is aligned with that. If you find yourself doing shit that's not aligned with it, stop doing dumb stuff.
Can't put it easy as can't put it much easier. All right, so
Yeah,
let's ask him here. What did we?
Ryan, echo's coming off of you, man.
Damn it! I thought I fixed it. All right, here I went to the echo cancellation, so apologies, guys, for that. So there's the process.
There you
Learn
go.
audio mastering so you don't make a podcast where you have a fucking echo going off in the background. So actually, John, here, I'll ask you. I don't know if you're ready yet or not, because this is kind of all started the conversation. Do you remember the one? Like, I just want to. Here, I got to mute you for a sec. The echo, evacuate, ejaculate. You wanted to see if you can get it down to like 5 minutes from swiping a girl on Tinder to sleeping with her. You'd take it. And then I made the argument that I actually kind of like just learning pickup and enjoying the experience. I'm curious of your thoughts on this process versus result.
All right, say what would you say one more time?
Well, do you remember we talked on? I don't know. You got a bad echo coming through your thing. Do you remember that argument we had? Not an argument, but you were saying you wanted to ejaculate, evacuate, pick up a girl as quickly as possible, sleep with her, and get it done and out of the way. And I was talking about how I actually didn't care about that so much as I did like learning pickup and getting better at it or whatever. Like, have your thoughts changed, or am I just flat out wrong with enjoying the process versus focusing on just the result with the exclusion of anything else?
I don't think you're wrong at all. I just think, just for me, look, I do what women do to men. I use them and I just use them for my cause. I just I come in there, wham bam, thank you, ma'am. I don't care. It's like a bonus if they did, but I don't know. Like enjoying the process. I don't know. I don't care. Like I got into this shit to have sex quickly and for as least amount of money as possible. And so no. I mean I've mastered it, but there was never a point where I'm really enjoying the process. I was never like that. I was just more on the lines of I just want to have sex as soon as possible by spending as least money, time, and calories on this date as possible.
Fair enough. Well, what about business then? Is it the same attitude towards business? As long as it makes money, you don't care? Or do you want to, in case you have to leave this place and start up I don't know, what other kind of startup business could you do? Is that kind of thing worried about you too? Or do you just I'd rather focus 100% on what's here now?
Well, when it comes to business, I definitely don't just do whatever it takes to make business. I'm very, 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 very super focused on doing ethical business. And anybody in my community can tell you, I'm very, very strong on that. I don't deal with scammers. I don't do anything unethical. It's just not like, I don't know. When it comes to business, it's different because women, like, I view women like women view men, just disposable objects. Okay. And so, but when
Can
you're,
argue with you.
yeah, and when you're doing business, you can't view your customers as disposable objects because now more than ever, do you guys know why Amazon is the number one company in the world? Because their customer service is obsequious. It's amazing how quickly they respond to everything. They're like, "Do you want to talk to a human on the phone? Call this line." Like, I use Amazon Prime. I use Amazon for everything. I have a Prime membership. I click, it shows up on my doorstep. It's the most effective way for business people to operate these days. So no, when it comes to actually doing business, no, I'm very, very, very meticulous in how I go about everything. But in regards to, seduction and stuff, like, nah, I'm just trying to get my nut as soon as possible. Seriously, it's like, I'm going to have sex with you. Then I want a massage, and then I'd like you to clean something up, and then I'd like you to leave.
Not even a sandwich, you big charmer, you. Well, hey,
No.
that's a great point. Guys, what do you think on this one? Where he's like, you can segment it. Some things just focus on the result, don't give a shit about the process, and other things you don't, which is actually kind of a more subtle and nuanced view of it than I guess we've been talking about here. But I'm curious everybody else's thoughts.
I like the process. I like the date. I like the girl coming over because I don't get that many free nights. I'm a dad, so my dad's nights out or dad night in. I like to have fun. So if I can have a good dinner, good date, chick comes over, we have fun. It's a better night. I just have fun doing that. I'm an old timer.
Back in the day, I remember when Mystery and Neil Strauss and everybody and RSD and these, the early PUAs would say, if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not having fun while you're out there, it's like, why are you doing it? Like, why are if you're not there to have a good time while you're, they would have like exercises and things, sometimes they try to go out and see how many times they could get rejected or blown out, but at least it was a good time. It was something that was enjoyable. And I think that was something that I think is lost today. And I've been talking about this recently on my own channel with sort of like the mechanics and I don't want to call it the science, but the science of seduction. Right. But, and so if you're not enjoying the process, like, why are you doing it? And you'll get this a lot from guys from this generation of, kind of like MGTOWs and black pills. It's like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. They still want the juice. They just don't want to give the squeeze. Right. And it's like, because the squeeze seems like it's painful. It's hard. It's arduous. Right. It's something that's like the reason why I used wax on, wax off as the thumbnail for this is because that's the process. But you don't realize what that practice and that process is teaching you in the long term so that you can become a master at something. Like in that movie, right? It's a really good analogy, right? It's I'm going to teach you this practice, and eventually this muscle memory is going to teach you greater things as a result of that. But if all you're focusing on is just wax on, wax off, it's like, you get fed up and you're pissed off. Like, this is all I'm doing is like, waxing your car and cleaning your car and doing all these chores for you. And you don't realize that the process itself is teaching you something that gets you towards that goal. And a lot of guys today are still kind of the TLDR generation, right? They want the cheat codes. They want to play in God mode. And they want you, if you're going to sell them this course of action, you're going to sell them this process, they want to see that it's going to like lead to like almost instantaneous gratification and results, going from like white belt to black belt inside of a month. And that's not how it works. That's not how real mastery works. That's not how real learning works. I can teach you scripts. I can teach you to memorize lines and through rote memorization, but that's not learning. You're not improvising. You're not coming up with shit on the fly. You're not actually out there being a pickup artist, right?
Yeah.
You think it's all science. And if I just do these things, then I'm going to get what I want. But most of these guys, when they get into that process, they don't know what they want in the first place. And I've been asking this question on every damn show I've done for the last like probably month now. It's like, where do you want to end up? Where, with the ending in mind, where do you want to end up? Why are you doing this in the first place? If you're not enjoying it, then why are you doing it? Right? If you think the juice isn't worth the squeeze, you still want the juice. Well, why aren't you just jerking off all the time, right?
Can I pick up on this one as well? I think because I'm
like, what's the end result? So, go
can
ahead.
I pick up on this one because I'm sort of in between John and a different point of view on this. I do agree with John. In the end, what's pickup about? It's about getting laid. You know, you want to get your nut. So of course, you know, why overcomplicate the thing? But on the other hand, the process, I believe, actually is enjoyable. Going out and talking to people, going out and socializing with people is enjoyable. And given that half of the planet has been prevented from doing that for the last 12 months, you know, we should all really celebrate that to some extent. Now, I'm watching at the moment my friend and colleague James Tusk, who's over in Brazil at the moment, and he's shooting some great videos from over in Rio where things are open and the parties all happening and stuff, and they're all out in the streets and drinking and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, like he says, you know, the industry calls it day game, but he just calls it social skills. It's about actually getting out, going and talking to people and having an awesome time. And that process in itself is enjoyable, and I think it is a valuable thing for us to do as human beings, to go out and just socialize. Nevertheless, of course, you have to have that end goal in mind as well, because if you're doing it in order to rack up the numbers and get laid, then you've got to also be efficient about it. But I think that it's a slightly more nuanced question than maybe is the process worth enjoying or not.
Sterling. I'm just putting you guys on the spot.
He was just so blown away.
Just point my camera at shit.
Check two.
Let's tie this back into sex, because that's what I talk about all the time. Like,
Check. 1, 2.
You're good.
check.
Oh, sorry.
What are you up to, John? I look, because you could look when it comes to sex, right? You can. I got to add another layer onto this. Like, you could just enjoy the 2-minute quick bust the nut, selfish kind of sex.
How'd you get to 2 minutes?
How do you last that long? Or you could actually sort of enjoy the process of learning that particular woman's body and learning exactly what buttons to push and learning exactly how to get her off in all kinds of different ways and exploring all kinds of different things with her, right? That's a process. That's not like a case of like just walking in and pushing a button and then she has a magical orgasm. It takes time, and you're never going to get to the point where you can learn how to do that unless you actually enjoy doing that. Perfect example is like going down on a girl. If a guy doesn't like going down on women, he's never going to get good at it, right? The guys who get good at eating pussy are the guys who actually enjoy the process of like figuring out how to get their woman off. So
I could just see John shaking his head in dismay at that.
Well, I could just see Rivlino talking about how that makes you gay or whatever. What was his thing on it?
I wasn't listening. I'll just say this, right? Like what Rollo was saying when he's like, you know, when the guy's saying, first of all, listen, okay? All you people out there listening. Anything the black pill community says, all right? You can't take it seriously unless you could see the guy's face. We all found out who MGTOW Dictionary was. Actually, I did. A 54-year-old loser who has squandered his life and lives at home with his mother.
And he's bisexual.
Bisexual, which is okay because he loves dicks, and that's okay.
Double the options, sure.
And, you know, in addition to that,
Double the
the
rejection.
biggest thing is this, right? They say the juice is not worth the squeeze because the squeeze requires them getting out there and doing the work. Black pill guys are just red pill guys who refuse to do the work, and they regress towards blue pill tendencies as well. That's why they have like a 45-year-old washed up Brazilian woman on their fucking streams where they all circle jerk around her. All right. The thing is this, when it comes to like that community, people, us as guys in the red pill community, we just need to condescendingly look down upon these poor, pitiful souls. We extend the olive branch, say, hey, you want to come learn from us? We'll teach you to do the work. You don't want to do it? Well, you can drink a good, tall glass of go fuck yourself. And we'll see you on the next episode of Rule Zero because you motherfuckers watch us anyways.
I don't mean to laugh so much, but goddamn, that's funny. Let him burn, man. Oh, dude, do I still muted? Okay, good. Well, no, it's like you bring up a good point because I mean, I'm watching other people's podcasts that talk about this stuff, and they're all a bunch of miserable bastards. Meanwhile, we're sitting here. What is it? Smiles. And what's the argument? Whether it's better to fuck slow or fast, make money slow or fast. It's not about feminism ranting on us. It's kind of the enjoyable part. And plus, just the fact that I look over and there's a man on this panel right now that can kill me, and I can't stop him. It's like exciting. Of course, Stirling could just a mushroom stamp to kill a mushroom stamp. No, I'm just joking. I don't know, John. I don't have like a segue to this.
No, it's guys. Just this discussion has me thinking. Sometimes it's better on the bad dates. I just want to get to the smash because it's a bad date and there's nothing good coming from the date other than her dropping her pants. So yeah, I can see the point of getting to the point and just having sex. That's like the number one pickup opener for Tinder was like, you want to smash.
Really?
Yeah. They did a little study of like 300 men, 300 women. It was like 250 of the women had sex, only 50 of the men had sex. And the number one line used to initiate them having sex was "want to smash."
God, would you get Rolo if you were single again? Would that be good for you or not? For me, I'd be like,
well,
I don't know. My first thought was like, is she trying to rob me? If she just started with like, you want to smash?
Well,
right?
well, I mean, now, if you
I guess not now.
If you would have asked me 25 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, right. But like now it's funny to me because I think that maybe with experience, like which most guys don't have these days, like, you're talking about the 80% of guys who are still sort of beta and lost and the low SMV. I'm not going to insult people. Let's just say they're low SMV guys, like the 80% of the 80% of guys that most women don't want to have anything to do with. I think there was I don't know if this is the study that Fitch was talking about here just a second ago, but they've done studies where they will go to college campuses and they would have an attractive woman go to. Yeah, they would go up to an attractive woman and there'd be an attractive guy and would say, hey, do you want to go home with me and let's have sex? I was like right there on the spot, like mode 1, right? It's like direct game right there. And 90% of the women didn't want to have anything to do with these guys. They did the same experiment with men on campus, and it was something like 100% of guys were like ready to go, or like 89% of guys were ready to go if it was an attractive woman that was coming to you. So what that is that's really kind of, they're trying to illustrate the fact that there's these innate differences where like reproductive costs for women and their investment in it is much higher because, there's pregnancy and there's all kinds of other stuff that goes along with that. And so you're always going to have that kind of natural barrier between, that natural filtration between the two. So it's like when you have like homosexual guys get together, it's like that barrier's gone, right? They're both, that's all they want to do is just get off. Or like they've done studies of lesbian couples, right? Where the females still have that kind of like, that standoffishness. They're still filtering, even though they're filtering for a female partner. So it's not, there's differences, sexual differences, gender differences between men and women, depending on what's the ultimate goal, what's the outcome. If it's just hey, let's get together and smash, great, okay. Right now I would be like, what does she want from me? Like, what is that? Like, what's the catch here? What's being how am I being played right now? And maybe that comes with a little bit with age and some wisdom and some better judgment of character, but yeah, I mean, you also have to sort of throw in the idea of like direct game and a direct approach, right? So if you look at like something like Alan Roger Curry does, where it's just like, hey, you want to get, are you DTF? Pretty much is what it comes down to. Like if you do that in real life, that's one thing. It's another thing if you're doing it online. Why do guys think that sending dick pics is in any way going to like get them from point A to point B, right? And what is point A to point B? Why are you doing stuff like that? Why would you even think of that? That's a good idea. Like to me, I'm like, where does this even come into like a concept? But to guys today, it's just like, oh, let me send her a dick pic. She'll love me. Like that. How does that make sense? I don't know. But and people say, well, okay, boomer, go back to sleep, kind of thing. It's like, no, it's like, well, tell me the logic. Tell me how we get from point A to point B, and you think that that's a good idea.
I'll tell you where that comes from, Rollo. I'll tell you where the dick pic thing comes from. The dick pic thing comes from the webcam industry. That's where it started. It all started,
Really?
because it all started in the webcam industry because like girls could charge, like girls would ask guys to send them dick pics because they'd be like doing one-on-one private chats, and just as a way of feigning that they were being turned on by their customer. And then they'd also start charging dudes for dick rating pics. That happens a lot now on OnlyFans. Lots of dudes the girl will charge you to send her a dick pic and rate it. Like, so all these guys are out there doing that. I'm a porn star and I don't send fucking dick pics.
And you could get them professionally. You could get them professionally shot, couldn't you? And professionally lit. You could get the best dick pics.
I've got lighting. I've got the best cameraman taking photos of my cock, and I'm not putting that out on the internet.
Why the monster just bleeding?
Why are all you guys so anti-dick pic? Paid me dividends upon dividends.
Why would I give
There
it away
are women
for
that
free?
do ask
You
for
want to
them.
see it? Come
There's
on.
not a large portion of them, but they do ask for them from time to time.
I fuck every time. It's a whole month.
It's echo.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's old school. I'm like, if you want to see it, you know where I live. Come on over. It's like, why do you want to see a picture of the Mona Lisa? You know?
It works better to send naked pictures of other girls to them. I find.
Ooh.
You know, I'll let me throw something in here because John said something interesting the last time he was talking here. Is that, you know, it's like, is this what you want to do with your time? Like, you know, when it comes down to like you know, the juice not being worth the squeeze. Like, okay, well, what's the ultimate plan? Like, where do you want to go with this? Where do you want to be when you're 54 years old, right? Do you want to be living in your mom's basement? Do you want to be like, what is a good use of your time? And maybe it's just like because I'm getting older or something like that. But like, to me, it's like, I want to maximize the amount of time that I have with the talents and the gifts that I've got and the drive that I have right now to help people, help myself, whatever it is that I can, I've kind of changed a little bit in that sense. Is like, I value my time more than anything else. And I wish I had this sort of attitude back when I was maybe in my 30s, right? Where it's like, I think it was like Henry Rollins said something like this. It's like your time is actually the most valuable thing that you have, and people are always trying to take it away from you. They're always trying to murder you with a little teeny tiny knife. So like when you're waiting in line at the bank or you're waiting somewhere else, and it's like just because of someone else's ineptitude, you're wasting just incrementally. Like maybe you can be like really crazy about stuff like this, but it's like murdering you with 1,000 paper cuts, right? Because your time is valuable. And one of the things that I think a lot of guys have a hard time sort of wrapping their heads around is when I say you're the prize or your attention should be valuable, your time should be valuable. Like time is money, right? What could you be doing with the time that you have spent not enjoying yourself, trying to get from point A to point B because you don't know what the end result is. You don't know what your goal is. You have no, like Rich Cooper was just saying a minute ago, is like, I have a goal and I work towards that goal. Great. Anything that comes in between you and that goal ends up becoming a time waster and an impediment. And, I hope you all live very long lives, right? Healthy lives, but how you don't know that tomorrow is guaranteed, right? So, and I've
Rich didn't know he was going to have a sauna. If you'd asked him in 2019, he'd say, that's stupid. I have one at my gym. Why would I buy one?
Well,
look at him.
But it's so when pickup artists, when game, whatever, I hate to keep even coming back to that, but when people tell you, time is money, you need to be the prince, right? And when a woman is with the prince, she appreciates the fact that this guy whose time is valuable, whose attention is valuable, is actually spending time with that person. And if that's not reflected in the relationship that you have, even if it's just like some Tinder date, if that's not reflected in the time that you're spending there, then why are you there? What are you doing? Like I talked about this with Myron last night, as a matter of fact, when I was there in Miami, there was some chick there who was just sort of giving him lip, right? And he's just like, okay, get the fuck out, get out. He was done with it. There was no discussion, no tolerance, no, hey, can you just mellow out for it? It was just go, because it was a waste of time. And this is what I want to do. This is where I'm going. And if you're an obstacle to that, then you're off. I'm going to boot you out of the bus, kind of thing. And so, but that's one incident in maybe your entire life full of incidents. So when like they say, oh, youth is wasted on the young or some shit like that, it's because you're still kind of figuring out that your time ought to be more valuable than it actually is. And particularly for men, we tend to teach them that they need to be serviceable and they need to spend their time like servicing someone else's goals, driving toward, making someone else richer, driving towards someone else's mating strategy, whatever the hell it is. But we don't realize that time is finite, man. It's gone like that.
Well, here's a question. You actually got me thinking. Question for all you guys. Let's run around the panel. The most memorable story you have of kicking a chick out of your place.
Oh, I got a bunch of them.
I bet you do. Johnny, lead us off here. Let's go around the circle clockwise.
Rolo, I text you and you ignored me like you ignore people in real life. I texted in private chat. I got the same soundboard as you. Help me out here. Define like are we
all right, well, here I'll do a quick one of mine. Slept with a chick. I didn't really like her anyway, but the sex was fun and she was kind of kinky. We finished. And then she goes to start talking. And I'm like, so like, do you want me to call you a cab or are you able to do it yourself? And she asked, are you kicking me out? And I'm like, no, not right away. Like, take a minute, compose yourself. And then it was just it. And a couple minutes, she kind of stopped talking and sat there and then called a cab.
You got to ask him this. You can just ask him, so what are you up to after this? As soon as you're done, he's like, so what you got going on today? They're like, I don't have a kick 'em out story, but I got a pretty funny story recently. There's this chick, right? She's pretty thick. She's half white and half Japanese. She's from Kentucky, right? And I throw a lot of parties in Tokyo. Mac the Day Gamer, he's in the chat right now, and he comes to my parties. He can vouch. My parties are fucking lit. I've live streamed them. Right. Every black pill loser's dream to come to my party, but they'll never come. Like real life, they'll never come. But I invited her to the party and she was like, we were going to meet before as well, but she kind of flaked. I was like, okay, fine. Then I sent a mass invite to all these chicks. And she was going to come with her friend. And the day of the party, she canceled. And I was just like, I'm just done with shitheads like this. So she's like, hey, I'm not going to make it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, bet. I didn't reply to her, blocked her on the text messaging app, blocked her on Instagram. Went out to a club tonight. This was a month ago. Went out to a club tonight, hanging out. Some hot piece of ass taps me on the shoulder wearing this skin tight black dress. She's like, do you know who I am? I was like, not really. Because, I just come from another chick's house. So I was fucking, I wasn't really interested. And I just wanted to have a drink and meet my mates up. And she's like, oh, I'm so-and-so. And she's like, I was supposed to come to your party before and I didn't make it. And then you blocked me. I was like, oh, yeah, I did. And she's like, well, I just want to say I was sorry. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Let's hug it out. And then I unblocked her on Instagram from there. So like, when it comes to throwing chicks out and whatever, like you gotta be okay with keeping frame, guys. Stop being afraid of losing women. Stop being afraid of losing your money and financial risk. Just stop. Stop being a coward. History does not remember cowards. Look, one of the things that I talk about recently, look at Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk, he sold PayPal for like, I don't know, like it was something like $220 million, something like that. What did he do? Put $100 million into SpaceX. He put like, I'm going to fuck up the math. Okay. He put like $50 million in Tesla and he put like $10 million in Solar City. And then he borrowed money to live for his rent. Okay. Because he believed in himself. Okay. You guys are fucking pussies out there. You need to believe in yourselves, right? If you are going to try and do something, bet on yourself, man. If you're even red pill aware, don't you understand you have a statistical advantage over literally 90% of the population at minimum? That's all I got to say in regards to that. Throw those bitches out.
Yeah. Let's go. Actually, you know what? We're going to pause on this one. John, Sterling, I don't want to let you guys off the hook. I want to hear your kicking the chick out stories. Tell me you got at least one. John, I'm going to guess triangle choke.
Well,
no, you're just a sweetheart. You're like, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if I've had I've got a really good Cradar crazy detector. So like I'm pretty good about not letting the crazies into my house.
So the best one you got is the handing the girl divorce papers.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I don't have many. Yeah, take him for a walk and just never go back to my place.
Ooh. Dude, that's subtle. Actually, you know what that sounds like? There's an office one where people say that if you have, when you're working and there's always somebody that comes in to bother you when you're trying to get work done, they say the technique then is to get up, start walking to their office with them, and they'll walk to follow to start talking. And then as soon as they get to their office, people just instinctively sit down and you just walk back to your office. And that's how you kick people out of your office without them even knowing it.
That's probably I lived downtown San Jose for a year, and I was like right when the divorce stuff was happening, and I think that was probably I used that at least a couple times. Whereas like I got to get you out of my place, I can't leave you here, I got shit to do. Let's go grab a coffee, and we would go and walk down whatever, and then I'd be like, all right, well I got some shit to do later.
Dude, that's devilish. That's damn clever, Sterling. You probably got some romantic level shit like that too, don't you?
I leave him with a hot drink, so. It's nice.
Even better than you found them. I like it though. It's the walk soft and carry a big stick approach. All right.
I wouldn't say it was a particularly romantic example, the one I'm going to give you. There was this one girl. I was like, she was a fuck buddy for ages, and then we broke it off. And then she came out. She was getting really, really annoying. And then I ended up sleeping with her one more time again. And then it was like mid coitus. She starts like mouthing off about something, and I just like blossom inside of her, like staring her in the eyes, like, you are such a fucking brat. Get the hell out of here. And then kicked her out like mid coitus. So that was a good time. I remember I had this other girl. I'm the opposite of John. I'm not a good detector of like the crazy. Actually, maybe I am a good detector of the crazy, but I just realized my instincts tell me that crazy equals good sex, so I pursue the really crazy ones. So all my
crying here, man. I'm crying.
All my exes have been just batshit like nuts. I had this one ex who, like, I went out like for like Friday night. I went out just hanging out with my boys. Right, we were just playing cards, drinking, having a good time. My phone died. And before my phone died, she texted me saying, "Oh, hit me up if you're free tonight." And then it died, right? And then I get home and I turn the fucking phone on, and as the phone switches on, you just hear the sound of all the missed calls and the messages that were left on my phone. I had something like 47 missed calls, about 30 voice messages, about 30 odd texts, and it started off from like, "Hey, I'm free tonight. What are you doing? Where are you? Who is she? What are you doing?" Like, it just escalated into like batshit crazy land, where she was like on the phone, like sobbing into my voicemail. I was like, all right, this is the kind of girl I like to hang out with.
Beautiful.
John, I can't believe you're missing out on all this stuff just by getting a girl coffee. That coffee is the most valuable thing ever. I'm telling you right now.
I threw a girl out a while back, but I think I don't know if I told this story last week or recently. I think I may have said it on somebody's show, so apologies if you've heard this one. But I was on Bumble, and I've had some pretty bad experiences on Bumble, to be honest, over the years. And I met this one girl, and we were sort of chatting back and forth, and she was kind of into some kinky stuff. She's into a bit of BDSM type stuff. So I was sort of going down that route, and I was sort of saying, "Oh, come over and, we can reenact some of this stuff." So I was staying in this flat in Chelsea at the time, and she comes over and turned up, and she just came straight back to the apartment. So, and I thought, awesome, great, this is, deed done. And she comes in, and let's just say that she was not as aesthetically pleasing as her shots on Bumble had suggested, and she was somewhat more Rubenesque in terms of her frame than I had expected. And so we sat down, and I got her a drink and everything, and I was just like, do you know what? I'm just not really feeling this, And I've got this very English thing, if I'm just not feeling it, I'd sort of rather just have a nice cup of tea. So she's sitting there in front of me, and of course I've set the whole thing up and teed the whole thing up, and we've sent these messages back and forwards and stuff. And she's like looking at me like, right, what are we going to do? And I said, listen, to be honest, I've got to do a call in a bit, and then I've got to get up early tomorrow morning. And she was just like, you could tell her mind was blown. And she actually said to me, listen, what do you want me to do? I can do anything before I go. And I said, no, it's fine. It's fine. It just leave, please. And she went.
Jeez.
And I was just like, but it's just like when you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you already know how girls take reaction. You basically just called her a fat whore in her mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rich, and I know we got you quiet because you're enjoying the sauna time. Do you want to share one of yours, or you're like?
No, well, yeah, I've not done it that often. I'm kind of like Fitch, where I've always just kind of stayed away from crazy early. But for some reason, when women want to get thrown out of my property, they always seem to do it when I'm driving my car. And that's kind of my sanctuary, so I don't really have a lot of patience for like chirping and nagging if I'm driving and having a good time. And I remember this one time, this chick was chirping me about something, and I didn't say anything. I just grabbed the wheel and cranked it 180 degrees. Did a real hard turn. She smashed her head against the window as I was turning and doing a U-ey, and I just drove straight home while she's like freaking out. I just pulled over at the house by her car, and I reached over and opened the door and just said, "Get the fuck out." And I just drove away. So I don't have a lot of time for it, man, to be honest with you. I don't know why guys would put up with abusive, bitchy, rude, condescending women. You have to set boundaries with these chicks, man.
I love how you can fit yours with your car.
Most guys are necessitous. That's why. There you go.
Yeah, for the most part.
Most guys are necessitous. They again, it's that 80% guys who feel like if they're not kissing, there's like order of degree of kiss up, right? There's the guys who don't realize that they're being disrespected because they think that they've got such an investment in making that girl feel good or like solving or meeting her needs, right? I mean, we've been talking about that since like the late 70s, right? You got to meet her needs. But most guys, most little boys, from the time they're 5 years old until they get to be, in their adulthood, they're there to be serviceable, and as a result of that, they tolerate more things from women that they wouldn't tolerate from a guy. And I talked to Myron about this as well yesterday. Is like when he was putting that girl on blast and got her out of there. I'm like, good on you, and she's probably got more respect for you as a result of that. But a lot of guys would say, "Oh, why would you do that, man? Why don't you be more chill? Why don't you just?" And it's like, no, he's at a point right now where it's like, if you're an obstacle, you're out. And I think most guys won't do that because they're like it's like getting little table scraps. From like they'll tolerate things from women that they wouldn't tolerate from their best friend. That's one of the reasons why I say that men and women can't really have platonic friendships, because of that serviceability, right? Because of that protector dynamic that is sort of inherent in men and women. Like there's an expectation that men will put up with more and they will wait around more, and women can be late, and women can what is it? Women's prerogative, right? She has the right to change her mind whenever she wants to. She has the right to be duplicitous. She has the right to be fickle. She has the right to do. And guys were like,
the right to get a cab.
Okay, yeah, exactly. And most guys, most men are so necessitous and so low value that they will put up with that, and they don't realize that by doing so, they are only reinforcing the perception she's already got of you. That you're low value, and she can put you on ice and put you into orbit, right?
Well, I think Modern Life John kind of set the tone, and you said it just perfectly, where you said just respect your own boundaries and time and self-respect and dignity. Because everybody's story here, they're funny. I'm popping a blood vessel just laughing at some of them.
Let me just tell you guys a little bit.
I'll pass it right to you. But that's the point. You notice we're not trying to impress each other by one-upping. We're just saying a moment where we find it absolutely ridiculous. And it's like, this just isn't worth my time. The fact that it's funny is incidental. But yeah, Johnny, it's all yours, man.
I'll say this, right? Okay. So I've been doing a little bit of a social experiment lately. Okay. And here's why you guys just need to stop. Here's the thing. Okay. Women are like dogs. Okay. In the sense of, if you approach a dog and the dog can sense you're afraid of it, that dog is going to be like, this motherfucker's a bitch. I'm going to bite him.
Yep.
Right? Women are the same way. Now, recently, I've been hooking up with a lot of chicks, right? Body language mastery webinars are finished, and my sexual frustration had peaked because I've been working 6 to 8 hours every single day coaching guys, and kind of went on like a little bit of sexual rampage lately. And I'm doing this little experiment with all the new girls I meet, and every time I meet a new girl, even if we're making out and I've got her shirt off, even before we have sex, I start to slowly put my hand around their throat and choke them, right? Choke them on the side, the blood choke, right? The one that did like, not the trachea choke. That's the John special. But I've been choking them, and these girls, none of them object to it. Okay, they all like it, and the reason is because the last place right now for women to be dominated by men, where they truly want to be dominated in all aspects of their life, is in the bedroom. Okay, and this is an international thing. Okay, I'm doing this with Chinese girls. I'm doing this with Japanese girls. I'm doing this with some white chicks. I'm doing it with all ages. Okay, I was hooking up with this chick today.
All legal ages.
All
Yeah.
legal.
It's the internet. We got to preface it.
People are so fucking weird that I even have to preface that shit. All
I
right,
know.
I was recently I was just like, fuck it, I want a bunch of leads, and I set my Bumble from 18 to 42, right? And I boosted my shit, and everybody gets a right swipe, right? Just nuking the account and just going through it, right? So I hooked up with this one chick recently, 37 years old, great tits, phenomenal blowjob. And she is a top director at her job. And she had like the pixie cut, right? She had a short haircut. And she had all the symptoms of a miserable woman. And so I was with her, and we're making out, and then we didn't even have sex because she was on her period, right? And I started choking her on her sofa. I'm just choking this bitch, and just letting and like giving her a good go. You know what I mean? And choking her good. And she was like having an orgasmic reaction from this. And then I was like, after we were done, I was done choking her. She sucked me off. I came in her mouth, whatever. And when we were done, right, I started interrogating her, and I was just like, so what do you do? She's like, oh, well, I'm like the director of this job. And I was like, oh, wow. So you're in charge of a lot of people, right? She's like, yeah, I'm in charge of a lot of people. I was like, do you really like being in charge? She's like, well, not really, but somebody has to do it. Shogun, it's my job or whatever. And I started putting pieces together, and she's in charge of everything at work. And she's so overworked, and she's like pressured by Japanese society to keep the thing going because she just fell in line as the person who's being in charge. And she's miserable. She's miserable to the point that a fucking strange man from Bumble coming over and choking her on her sofa, literally within an hour and a half of meeting her. And she's like, I had such a good time, and I really want to see you again. So I'm under the impression that all women on a global stage are sick and tired of male supplication. The average male, listen, the moment you're like, oh man, like women's empowerment, like, oh baby, you're like such a powerful woman. They don't like that. The moment you pedestalize a woman, she's like, ugh, another one of these fucking disgusting people, right? Here's another thing, right? Let me just say something real quick. I'm going to read a text message to you. All right. This girl's supposed to meet me on Monday. We're supposed to go to see the big Buddha statue in Yokohama, right? And she says to me, hey, I saw you're at a nightclub tonight, and given the COVID situation, I don't think it's safe to hang out with you. And I hit her back with like, thank you, mom, with the praying hands, right? She says, I saw your story. I'm sorry if I made you upset. Have a gorgeous night. And what I posted on my story was, you can follow it on. You could see it right now. Hot Dude Life on Instagram. I said, please don't DM me telling me you're worried about the coronavirus. No time for low IQ shit. 100, right? Right there. That's on my story right there. So she replies to me. She says, I thought you were talking about me and calling me low IQ. I said, I was, but I'll still see you on Monday. She's like, oh no, not respectful at all. I said, correct. She's like, I like kind of douchey people. I said, I'm an asshole, but I'm also correct. Coronavirus is bullshit. And only low IQ poor people worry about it. The plan is for all the banksters and politicians to take all our rights and monies. So don't be stupid, okay? See you I said, see you Monday, 12:30 p.m. Don't be late. She's like, wow, speechless. You are so douchey. I love it. Okay? Receipts.
Fitch, the funniest part of this is that this channel's going to get nuked, but only because of that COVID line. All the sex stuff, the joking, they're not going to care. But the COVID is BS thing, YouTube's going to be like, yeah, nuke this.
Stop being afraid of being yourself in the good way. Like, this is who I am. Like, I am an asshole.
Lovable asshole.
Yeah, I do think the coronavirus is bullshit. If you don't like me, good. Pour yourself up a nice tall glass, or go fuck yourself and drink it up. I don't give
Out of my timeline.
All right, so then back on the topic here. We're obviously showing that you guys can enjoy the process for the audience here. You guys can sit here, you can have fun with it. Even something as vile and misogynistic as kicking a girl out of your house for sometimes the most flippant of reasons can be so fun to at least share with your buddies afterwards. God knows there's like 7 guys on the panel, 8 sets of smiles on here. I don't know who's got the extra set of teeth. Probably John underneath his desk is my guess. It's a blowjob joke.
My buddy used to have a good get rid of a girl story where he would have the girl come over, they would have sex, and then he would have to pretend after a while because she wouldn't want to leave. Okay, I'm gonna go work out. I gotta leave. So he would leave the house, he would get in the car with his dog, she would walk off, and he would have to drive his car around like 3 or 4 blocks in order for her to get off the block so he could come back to the house and go back inside and just chill. He would do that like every day. He did that for a few months.
You need an excuse sometimes, you know? You need to make a little excuse.
Well, it's like the opposite version of I need to go home and feed my fish, the old routine there from Mystery, to get a girl comfortable with going to your place before you bring her back for the yanked.
Yeah.
But just like a comfortable way to have her leave and keep enough dignity that she doesn't try throwing some shit at you later.
Yeah.
Or what's the other one they do now? The text, like, I had a great time. I hope you did too. Just so when they put it on read or respond to it, you can use that in your court case.
Yeah.
Does anybody here do that? I never did that. Because I had T9 on my phone at the time and I didn't have to type in, like, push 6-7 times to get an F key or whatever. But have you guys ever send the post text?
I think it's a good practice to do it.
I was reading the chat. What do you say? Send what? The post text?
The text afterwards. I had fun. I hope you did either, to stave off any potential like hurt feelings later on.
Yeah. No, you got it. Dude, that's the thing. The guys who look, you got to be like really dialed in with understanding female nature. Like just from the men I know on this panel, like very well, like Stirling, Rollo, Troy, myself. Right. We just really like when it comes to like mitigating potential destructive female reactions. Right. And if you give them a good time from A to Z, right, you're going to have no problem. You're really going to have no problem. The guys who typically get these, first of all, look, these Me Too cases are way less prevalent than people think they are. Okay. But if you're glued to fucking Twitter and all you do is fucking get angry all the time, like Rollo on Twitter, 24 hours. Yeah. You can think it. But I mean, the reality is it's
all wrong.
The reality is it's not really that prevalent. And 9 times out of 10, it goes back to the dog thing. Okay. I have like the gayest little dog ever. Right. But if my dog senses fear in a grown ass human, because Japanese dudes are like kind of pussies when they see my dog. Oh, is the dog gonna bite me? She'll be like, rah, 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 rah. I start barking at them. So if the woman senses bitch assness or fear on you, then she's gonna be like, oh, I'll get this motherfucker. I'll snuff him out. But if you have them, if you're socially calibrated and you know A to Z how to have a good time, and you want to send the follow-up text, that's fine. The girls typically send me the follow-up text because they had such a good time. Right? Look at this girl. I literally just verbatim told this girl she's a low IQ chick. She's like, I like douchey people. You know, it's just all about how you carry yourself and being socially calibrated. That's why I don't support PUA, right? Because PUA is it's like going through the motions, right? It's kind of going through the process, really, but not understanding it. Or you're giving, what's the thing called? You're giving kids with dynamite is what it's called.
Yeah, children with dynamite. Yep.
Yeah.
Let me tag something on there for John as well. I think I've mentioned this a few times. I'm sure you guys have heard of the dog whisperer, right? Like Cesar Millan. Like Cesar Millan made a good living off of that show, The Dog Whisperer, not because of bad behaved dogs, but because of bad behaved people, because of their owners, right? And you know why 90% of the owners in these shows had a problem with their dog or behavioral problems with their dog is because they wouldn't dare assert themselves over their dogs. Like that's the degree of which most people are just like, well, I wouldn't want to crush his doggy spirit, right? Oh, he should be able to do what he wants to, kind of things. Like, it's a dog. You're supposed to command it. You're the human. It's the dog. You teach the dog how to behave, not to shit in the house, not to bite people, not to bark when it's not appropriate, that kind of stuff. And the reason I know this is because I trained greyhounds for a long time right now. And so when I look at that, 90% of the time when I'm watching that show, Cesar Millan's show, The Dog Whisperer, he's not training the dog. He's training the people to train the dog because they don't have the gumption or whatever the hell it is to actually be able to command that dog. The same thing, the same reason is why the chick that is getting choked by John, wants that, because that guy who does that is the guy who's commanding. The guy who's dominant, the guy who's like, I like douchey people. No, you like dominant people. You like dominant men. You like guys who aren't afraid to do that.
Dude, that's the point.
All social convention and say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to put my hand around. It's not like you're choking her out. It's just that's an act of dominance. Sterling has done several videos on exactly this. And the more we see like pornography and the more we see people getting after it and stuff, we go, wow. Women really do this. Where women really are into this. It's not just, oh, I need a nice guy to spoon with me on the couch, and I got to trust you and feel comfortable with you. And no, it's like the girl wants you to take control in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom as well. And 90% of the time, it's guys who are just I don't say timidity, like they're timid, but it's the idea that they would never give themselves permission to be the guy who puts themselves into authority. Going back again to responsibility versus authority. You have a responsibility to be nice and be trusting and familiar and everything, but you have no authority to actually enforce what would make you respectable or would grant you the things that come from that responsibility in the first place. So we've got a generation after generation of guys who won't train their dogs, who won't dare be dominant.
Yeah. But at the same time, John makes a good point though as well, because it's like it is about giving her a damn good time, and it's giving her a positive experience. And
I don't know.
I'm sure is he talking as well? I'm sure that he does, but it's really, really important to do that, and then you both have a great time, and there's no problems afterwards.
Check 1 2 1 2.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Oh, that's weird. I don't know. This shit sucks. I wanted to double down on what Rollo was saying. Rollo, you're a dog owner. You've been owned many dogs for many years. You can tell by looking at somebody. Is the person walking the dog or is the dog walking the person? And 9 times out of 10, when you see a woman with the dog, what's happening? It just shows you this is their nature. They want to be led. They want to be dominated. Why do you think 50 Shades of Grey is an international phenomenon? Miss MLD, my woman, lives literally in a rice field in the countryside on Kansai, and she has read 50 Shades of Grey in the Japanese translation. Why? Because the patriarchy is oppressing her in her middle of a rice field somewhere? Or this has something to do with female nature?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Sterling, and vouch on this one. John's absolutely right. All these, like a lot of people will say, oh, this choking and this misogynistic stuff, it's so bad and so wrong. But you notice the one person that matters here, the girl, is enjoying herself.
Yeah. Like a lot of guys don't kind of buy into this because they've never experienced it. They've never had the positive feedback from it, right? Which is when I teach guys this sort of stuff, I teach them how to baby step their way into it. Because if you're trying to choke a girl and you've never choked a girl before, you're going to come across very incongruent, right? Especially if you're not confident with yourself, if you're, intimidated by the idea of a potential Me Too allegation or whatever the hell, right? They've got this idea in their head. So there's going to be incongruence between what they're trying to do and their body language. They're going to be like, oh, Jesus, I better try and choke. Modern life dating said I need to choke a girl. But once you sack up and start, laying down the authority, laying down the dominance, you just get nothing but positive feedback from it. And you're like, oh, shit. This stuff really works. This is women have there is fear or the danger and sex are intrinsically linked in the female brain. Everything that women find sexy is in some way, shape, or form linked to like danger and uncertainty. That is a crucial component of their their arousal. Is being perceived as something that is far more powerful than they are. You're stronger. You're more dominant than they are. They have
anxiety is like the aphrodisiac, isn't it?
Yeah. And everything in society right now is making men weaker than they are. Like big daddy government is like the only thing that is more powerful than them, for the most part, through most of their lives. So of course, like that's why you're seeing it sort of come out more and more these days. And girls are even more vocal about it these days than they were like 10, 20 years ago. I want a guy to rough me up. I want a guy to like throw me around a bedroom. I want a guy to pull my hair properly. I want a guy to choke me properly. It's because they've got no masculine presence. They've got no dominance in their life. So the only place that's acceptable for them to get it is in the bedroom.
Yeah, no, I'm blown away by how many girls like getting choked. I started doing over the last couple years. I started doing like I call it the choke check. Like in the middle of coitus, you can nonchalantly move your hand towards the throat, and you don't really choke them. You just put yourself in a position where they can choke themselves, and yeah, 100% of the time they always lean forward really hard and start making themselves turn purple. Like it's like the lean forward and choke yourself, Sergeant Pyle, or whatever.
Oh yeah.
You know, don't pull my hand, choke yourself. It's like that. They're leaning hard into it, and you're like, wow.
They all love it. You can go full WWE theatrics like The Undertaker when you have like the fucking. I'm telling you, you yoke a bitch as soon as she comes through your front door after you fuck her a couple times. I'm telling you, that's how badly they want to be dominated. The girls that are into you as well. I mean, you're not gonna don't be fucking yoking up a bitch at 7-Eleven. But
damn internet that we have to say this stuff. Damn it.
When you're already in the door, then you can start trying this stuff.
But again, can I just say this is about giving her positive emotions. This is about having a fucking great time with her. However, a great time in a sexual erotic context is not, oh, I'm just going to be really nice and buy flowers and blah blah blah. So I'm sure that John is, despite his brash exterior, I'm sure he's generally pretty fucking gentlemanly. I'm sure the girls that come over have a great fucking time. But it also includes that element of, that element of friction, because the attraction is created in friction. And like Stirling said, it's created in, to some degree, that sense of the illicit. All right. And this is what you've got to bring to the party. But ultimately, it's all about she has a great time. You have a great time. It's all good.
Oh, damn it. Dead air. Rich, you've been super quiet. I'm worried about him now. If he's been in that sauna for too long, and get heat exhaustion.
He can't get out. The door's locked.
I'm just sitting here laughing and listening, dudes. It's like, you're talking about basic shit I did 20 years ago, so I'm just nodding my head.
How awesome is it that Rich Cooper is on this stream sitting in a fucking sauna? That's just how few fucks could you give?
Bro, look at this. Like, I am sweating balls in here. I am fucking. It is so hot, man. I'm digging it.
Oh, it's like -5 in Toronto right now too. So it's like
I'm just following the John Fitch model of making weight class, just sweating it all out, man.
Oh, that's right. That's your other book, isn't it? The weight cutting Bible. Fitch.
Yeah, I've been cutting weight for a long time. So my friend witnessed me do it, and he's seen me do it a bunch of times. So he convinced me to write a book about it. So it's a short book, and you don't have to actually cut the weight. You can just follow the meal plan and get jacked. Works pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's important because after we had that one conversation where everybody loved what you had to say, and they're like, dude, you should write a book on this. And then you're like, I have 2. I'm like, clearly we need to get you guys in your mind that this guy is like a prolific writer. And he's got some good material out there. I'm going to put a link to that in the chat too, so make sure I don't forget by the time we're done here.
Good.
I guess
we have to come out with a bondage and rope bondage course for these guys.
Yeah, well, you're doing research right now. I mean, I can show you a bowline, but other than that,
yeah.
Hey, let me read you something here, Ryan. This is something Dalrock put out a long time ago, and it sort of speaks to like what John was saying, and the Cesar Millan thing. And he summed it up really, really well. He said, these women don't just want to build a better beta. They want to tame the alpha. In fact, I think the former is just another way they are trying to approach the latter. They want to take an inherently unsafe activity and make it safe. They want to submit to a man without having to submit. They want a man who can tame their feral self. They want a man to trip their danger signals. Even if it's even better if he is a stranger from a strange land. They want all of this to happen without giving up their freedom. They want to play this out in the context of serial monogamy so they can feel loved while also claiming their promiscuity is moral. They want to lose control to a string of strangers who have all the hallmarks of very dangerous men, and they want the promise that this will always end well. They want to know that this will be safe without it losing its excitement of it feeling unsafe. They are telling men to build a sort of serial monogamy amusement park where they can ride the roller coaster and experience the fear of falling or crashing while knowing that just behind the scenes, grown-ups are actually in charge and are responsible for them safely feeling unsafe. One more thing. As I mentioned above, they don't want to feel hemmed in. So instead of building an actual amusement park, they want a roller coaster to spring up randomly in the same exact circumstances where the real danger that they mimic would appear. They want to be driving their car on a freeway in one instant and then the next experience the fear of careening out of control the next. They want to impulsively jump off the edge of the Grand Canyon and have a parachute appear and deploy at the last minute. And all they ask is your guarantee that all of this will be safe. And I wanted to throw that out there because there's a lot of, I think that when you talk about, like, say, 50 Shades of Grey, right? That's living vicariously. That's the roller coaster that Dalrock talks about all the time. It's the idea that they want to feel unsafe, but then they still want to balance that with long-term security. They want the very dangerous guy to come and rock their world. They want the guy who's going to put them in a chokehold. They want the guy who's going to take control in the bedroom kind of thing. But yet at the same time, they also want the guy who's going to, like, make them feel secure, make them feel, and it's like especially today, the two rarely exist. They get too much of one, or they think the other one is going to be like a creeper, or it's going to be like what Stirling was saying just a minute ago. It's incongruent. They want the right guy to choke them. They want the right guy to be dominant. They want Stirling Gray to be the one who's doing it because he's pre-approved by their girlfriends, or they want the guy who gives off danger signals. And the reason why that guy is attractive is because they're living in this ocean of guys who are just like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I make you feel comfortable? How can I meet your needs? Let's be equal partners. And so even just coming on as the guy who might have the capacity to be the dude who's going to say, you know what, you're off the show, get the fuck out. That guy right there is still going to make a much more a much greater impact on that girl than the guy who goes, it's okay, honey, don't worry about it. We'll make it work out. We'll, let's spoon on the couch for a little bit until you trust me.
For Christ's sake, just pull my goddamn hair.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, also, I want to just say this as well, is that, and I'm seeing this in the chat, is a lot of guys are going, well, aren't they just saying be yourself? Well, no, I'm not saying just be yourself. In fact,
if yourself is awesome, sure.
Well, I mean, and that's the other thing is a lot of guys think that, like, game is fake, and that kind of goes back to the unbearable triteness of hating, right? It's like it's just be yourself hate, and they'll say, game is fake, right? But and this is what Royce says: is game is no less fake than any other self-improvement pursuit to which a man might set himself in order to move upward in his natural inertial state. Like, how do you go from being ordinary to being extraordinary? God forbid you be the guy who has to actually learn that, who go to school to get some kind of education, to actually to get the knowledge that you didn't get from your dad or from your upbringing or from spending too much time behind a screen because you were raised on on digital media pretty much. So it's like, don't start throwing rocks at guys who are saying, I need to learn game. I want to learn game. I want to learn success. I want to learn how to build muscle, make money, and to learn game. And if you have to learn that from somebody else, if you have to learn that from a third party, there's no shame in doing that, because all you're doing is trying to improve yourself in any other way that you would have been doing anyways, right? How do you go into a STEM field? How do you learn to code? You get somebody to teach you. That's how it works. And there's nothing wrong with learning that kind of stuff. The only realm in a man's life where we say, oh, that's shameful, you should already know that kind of stuff, a real man would know all that stuff, is when it comes to his dating life, when it comes to his personal life. And so when that guy gets into trouble and he marries some chick that like takes him to the cleaner in a divorce or whatever, because he was blue pill and didn't know what he was getting himself into, because he was just ignorant of the whole thing, trying to use, this form of game that was just sort of naturally came to him. And then we call him an asshole, or we call, well, you should have seen it coming. A real man would have seen that coming. You would have known she was a low quality woman. It's like this after post facto rationalizations. And so why is it shameful for you to want to learn game? Why is it shameful for you to want to learn how to be better?
It's true to say that there are some guys who just have this naturally down more than other guys, and that's probably because of their upbringing and the experiences they had at a younger age. But the fact of the matter is, for anybody out there who's saying game is fake, there are certain things that some of us have to learn, but nevertheless are factual, that actually work. There are certain things that you can do to present yourself to the women out there that you meet that will make you more attractive, that will present you, because you are the product, you're the raw material, that will present you in a more attractive way. And there are certain things you can do that will present you in a less attractive way. And I myself, I had to learn them. I was, and when I learned game, and I started to interact with women through the lens of knowing game, I started to get better results. And it wasn't because I became better looking. It wasn't because I became taller. It wasn't because I've got an amazing six-pack, although obviously I have got an amazing six-pack, but it wasn't because of that. I didn't have more money. It was just that I was presenting myself in a different way because I learned game. And that's the fact of the matter.
My favorite part on that too, Troy? Like, female boss, my first corporate job. I basically, I don't try to sleep with her, but the same things you would do to run good openers, I would do during the job interview, the negotiation and that. Game ended up being not just about picking up chicks, and everybody's like, oh, you're just doing it to please a woman. And no, it's kind of, you're learning how to live life better.
Yes. And RP Mamba says, because you learn game from an outside source, girls are going to see that as incongruent with your natural personality. But you're not going to tell the girl, are you? You're not going to say, oh, by the way, 3 years ago I went on a game boot camp, and that's how I'm chatting you up. I mean, it's, don't talk about it. And you become, it will grow into your personality, because the more that you practice this stuff, the more you practice your social interactions, you will become more confident. You will become a better man.
Well, we're guys. We are what we do. We don't have some intrinsic value
for man-woman stuff, but it's really just interpersonal dynamics, being able to talk to people, being able to keep up, relationships. And a lot of kids grow up behind screens and they have no idea how to make friends or be friends with
social intelligence.
To be themselves in a room full of people. Everybody shuts down and gets small. So a game is not just about picking up chicks. It's about life and getting the most out of life, getting the most out of intermingling with other people and other human beings.
It's what it is this just blatant misinterpretation by the Spurgs in our area. Okay, like for example, there's some idiot in the chat, Adam Simmons. I banned the guy from my chat, and he's saying oh, ha ha ha, they're saying be yourself. No, idiot, this is what you're missing. All right, when we say be yourself, it means be externally congruent with who you are internally. All right. If you feel something, like, for example, here's the thing, right? A lot of you guys have been on dates with girls and she's done something or said, oh, let's go here or let's do this. And in your stomach, you're like, oh, I really don't want to do this. Right. But you go along with it because you're selling out because you want some pussy. That's incongruency. All right. The real thing to do is when you feel that gut feeling, all right, you tell her no. I went on a date the other night with this chick, right? Smoking hot girl, 26, perfect ass, great tits, right? And she got to the restaurant or at this bar, and she put her stuff. We were sitting at this table, and I was already there. And there was the sofa side of the table, and then there's the chair side, right? I sit on the sofa side always. And she started putting her stuff down, sitting down. And I was like, nah. I was like, don't sit over there. I don't like it. It's like an interview. It's so weird. Sit next to me, right? And I just said it with like that. So many of my friends don't have the balls to say that. They're just like, oh, I don't know. Just, I'll just handle it later or whatever. But I felt in my gut, I don't like it. I don't like sitting across from a girl. It makes the seduction harder. It makes it more interviewee. You know what I mean? It's like an interrogation. That's what we're talking about when we say be yourself. All right. Be internally congruent and externally congruent. Okay. That's the big thing. And then what was the other thing? We were talking about be yourself. What was the thing you were just mentioning there before? I think was Sterling talking about it or Troy?
Oh, just that you are what you do, I think was the other part of it. Like there is no, you can't be anybody but yourself. So if you just act better, you're still being yourself. It's just yourself isn't a bag of shit no more.
It was what John Fitch was saying about game, right? Because everybody's like,
that it works everywhere. It's just human. You learn to be a better human.
All right. Our local tomato farmers are like, oh, game is a lie. And right. And the thing is this, what your interpretation of game is incorrect. What you idiots, because you're a moron, if you think this, you think game is like, oh, let me just say these magic words. And she's gonna be like, okay, like, here are my tits. Like, here, there they are. Let's go. It doesn't work like that. All right. It's game is understanding female psychology and knowing how to maneuver through those waters to get what you want, which is
can I just make
for you and her.
Just one really, really quick thing on what John just said. Just that very thing of going and sitting next to her on the date rather than sitting across from the table. That's something that if you learn that, it's going to make your dates better. Because before, I probably wouldn't have known that. When I was a teenager or in my early 20s, I wouldn't have known that. I'd have sat opposite the girl because that's what I thought you had to do. It would have been awkward. It would have been less congruent. It would have felt like an interview. The date would have gone badly. That's something that you can learn. It's just these little things that you can tweak in your behavior and how you interact that will set you up for success. That's what game is. You know, and ultimately, it's about becoming it's about social skills. It's becoming a normal fucking human being in a social interaction.
Well, an extraordinary one, not quite normie. Normie guys aren't doing.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah. Oh, Troy, you're top 20%. We can't even question that, even without the accent. All right, so Sterling, I know you said you got to go soon. We usually go for the 2. So floor is yours, man. You know, do the ending spiel here and run your mouth until you got to go.
I just got to bounce. Just keep listening to what these handsome gentlemen all have to say because they're all absolutely correct. And here's like the last thing I'll jump on to John's point there is like game, right? Because when guys think of game, they think about like the book, The Game, and like Mystery Meth and all these like lines and pickup lines and stuff. The thing about those is that they're training wheels. All the stuff they give you in those, and you know, the old PUA books, they're all it's just training wheels to sort of teach a guy like how a naturally attractive man talks and interacts and elicits emotional responses and elicits compliance and qualification from a woman. That's all that's there to, that's what that's there to do. You don't have to like, that's why like sometimes like when you knew these kind of lines work for you, like it's like, oh great, like I've never talked like this before, I've never acted this way around a woman before, I've never elicited these kind of emotions from a woman before. So you start to see real world feedback on like behaving and acting this a certain way, what responses that gets from a woman, right? And so then like, okay, you can discard after a while you can discard the training wheels, develop your own style, and it, like with John for example, it becomes unconscious competence. He just says funny shit all the time. He just says what, or Troy as well. They just say what they need to say in the moment with the girl. But brand new guys, it helps them to have these sort of training wheels because they don't know what the fuck to say. Because like you mentioned before, Ryan, it's like be yourself. But if yourself is a complete loser who is very awkward and socially like miscalibrated, then being yourself ain't gonna fucking do shit. It's actually gonna hurt you, right? So there's a bit of both here, in my opinion. But anyway, I've got to bounce, guys. It's always been a pleasure. I've got I'm just gonna drop a quick plug for my new YouTube channel in the chat, where you can find all my
I'm
blogs.
gonna throw it in the description too if you guys are watching this later. So
yeah, go check that out. Give it a subscribe. It's brand new. We're building it up right now. So you have a great Saturday. I'll see you guys later.
Nice. Okay, so where did we leave off? Rich is still alive. Be yourself is ridiculous. A bunch of people. I'm not going to lie. I wish I could pay more attention here, but I'm spending a lot of time now just keeping guys out of the chat. Like, that's the one thing I'll never figure it out. John, you got more experience with this kind of nonsense than me, but guys, you want to come here. Like, we're here for people who want to learn. If you don't want to learn, don't be here. I don't have a follow-up to this. I'm just curious your guys' thoughts other than let them burn.
Oh, I had a slew of them come in when I was on with Myron the other day, and I'll tell you what, I've been doing those shorts. Those like I did a 30-minute video on Wednesday, and then I've been doing these short videos, and it's great for like exposure and people like learning about your channel, and the subs are going up and the views are going up as a result of that. But also the trolls and the spurgs are going up as a result of that too. So
I don't know. I just don't understand the idea of it. Like, well, whatever. Hey, this is too much like the airline food arguments and thing here. Let's get back to game and a happy thought because everybody's getting all depressed. So now it's just like the OG 5 here.
yeah,
I think we hit up some good stuff. Basically, I did not realize choking was as popular as it was. I always knew it was popular, but the John one blew my mind.
They're more
Just put your hand there and they'll run into it.
Listen, choke a bitch in Africa, she'll love it at this point. It's a global phenomenon.
And that's kind of the point, too, that I've noticed is that a lot of guys think some things are good for women or bad for women. But the only person they don't seem to ask are girls. Like, well, not ask, but explain. You know what I mean? Like, if you asked a girl on Twitter right now, have a thing, would you like to be choked or not? They'll probably call you an asshole and try to report you. But in the bedroom, yeah, most likely. And it kind of goes to, I think it's yours, Rolo, where you said, don't listen to what they say, watch what they do.
yeah.
I think that Ryan summed it up in his book the best. What was that line that you used in your book, Ryan? Something along the lines of the only thing that women like better than a good D is like the impression that they don't like a good D.
Oh, yeah. The only thing a girl likes better than hot sex with cool guys is having her friends think she doesn't like it.
Right. How's my audio, by the way? I just switched up the settings.
You sound a bit like Carl.
Oh, okay, good.
No, it's got a little echo, but it's the sauna. You're not about to put soundproofing in there.
Yeah, I'm in a box here.
All right.
Well, I think that a lot of these guys, especially in this new generation of guys, like the guys that are spurging out in the chats right now, there is this presumption that if like the red pill is an actual pill, it's actually something that I take and I swallow it, and suddenly I've become red pilled, right? Like it's a verb now. It's not unplugging anymore. I've taken this pill and okay, guys, tell me what I have to do. Tell me the process. Show me step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Like, because they think that it's this step-by-step thing, and it's not learning this, it's not learning this rote memorization. The process is something you should be enjoying. That's the squeeze that guys keep talking about isn't worth it, right? It's not worth going through all of this and learning this and having to deal with this and having the patience to understand, communication and social intelligence and things like that. It's not worth it to do that. It's time better spent to sit in the chat or go on, like, pick up PUA hate or slut hate or whatever hate it is.
Is that place still around?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I think it's changed to something else. I think now it's like incel.co or something like that. It's basically the same guys. And people don't realize this. Like, I know that the internet never forgets, but people's memories, like on the internet, they're just poof. They forget about it. But I can remember when it was True Force Loneliness, and then it became like MGTOW, and MGTOW became sort of militant MGTOW, and then MGTOW after that became like the Black Pill and the Doomers, and now it's the guys who are showing up in the chat who are at like incel.co, and it's not worth it, and blah blah. Let's all commiserate kind of thing. And all you guys is the next step in a very long line of guys who've been doing exactly the same thing for a very long time, because they think that it's some sort of like deductive process that you go through, like, step 1 through 12. Like, you want to know why Pete Peterson made a lot of money with 12 rules for life? Because it's this checklist of things, like, here, think about these things. It's almost like, what is it, contemplations or whatever it is that Marcus Aurelius, the godfather of Stoicism, came up with. Follow these things and do these, like Confucius say. This is like folk wisdom kind of stuff, and if you follow these steps, you'll live this perfect life. Guys,
always 12 steps too. You notice that? They got to steal the AA role model.
Exactly. And they wonder why I won't, like, how come Roland never gives us prescriptions? He never tells us what to do. That's exactly why I don't tell you what to do. I'm not you. You're not me. Your conditions aren't the same as mine. The principles and the underlying theory and the underlying wisdom that's part of that, sure. But anybody who's selling you a process, anyone saying, here's 12 things you have to do, and by the time you get to the 12th step, you'll be a man. You'll have mastered game. You'll be red pilled once you get to step 12, right? Anybody who's telling you that is selling you something. You will
Yeah,
never see me sell you that kind of process. And so it's like, and then at the end of it, they get to the 12th step and they realize that the goal or the result, they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This isn't where I wanted to be. And it's like, well, that's because you're not beginning with the ending in mind. And that's what most guys today who are coming into this don't realize. I keep saying that. Like, even if you're the guy who says the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Okay, well, what would be worth the squeeze? What end result would be your ideal outcome? What would that be to get to that, to get from point A to point B? What would that be? Not 90% of them can't even tell you what is worth the squeeze. Sitting in the chat saying, "Oh, free Tom," sitting in the chat going, "Oh, AIDS worm, blah blah blah." That's a good use of the very limited time that you have on this freaking planet. That's
you guys
good.
are fast. I don't even see these ones, and I'm watching chat like a hawk.
Yeah.
That seems like a good idea. Is it a good idea to go and do like 7-hour podcasts every Saturday and say the same shit over and over and over again? What's the goal?
7 hours is enough.
To achieve with that?
Yeah, and
I just in here. Just wanted to say thanks for having me on. Ryan, is it okay if I shout out about that stereo cast we're doing tomorrow?
Yeah, please do. Once I get a link to it, I'll put it in the description too.
Yeah, I need you to follow me so I can create the show, and then what I'll do is I'll link to it in my Instagram story, and I'll tag Ryan in it. So if you guys want to like hop on to a Q&A tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, I'm giving the stereo app a bit of a go for maybe a month or so, and just see how it goes. It's basically like listening in on a phone call and asking questions. So kind of like Clubhouse, except for you're not part of the call. You really just kind of like do this recorded question thing. So look for that on my Instagram feed. It's Entrepreneurs and Cars. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys all later. Love you. Peace.
See ya.
Man, I kind of liked having him on because this is his first sauna. He might overdo it and get heat stroke, so at least we can make sure he doesn't die in there.
I just think it's awesome. Like, how few Fs can you give to actually be on the stream sitting in a damn sauna? That's just awesome.
Not just that, he just built it because he was tired of the COVID restrictions. It's like, you know what? Screw it. It's like I remember John was making fun of him a couple months back. Do you remember that? You can afford an R8, but you can't put a gym in your garage. What the hell?
Yeah.
I guess Rich finally caught on.
We're just back on the juice ain't worth the squeeze thing a second. I just can't get on board with, because the squeeze that they're talking about is ultimately going out and interacting with other human beings. And I just can't get on board with that because, again, I'll go back to, I've got mates in Brazil at the moment, out in Rio, having an amazing time, interacting with other people, meeting women, meeting guys, having fun, and like, how is, and yes, sometimes you're going to score, sometimes maybe you're not going to score. Well, okay, whatever. But I mean, how is it better to be spending your time posting in chats and talking all of this BS rather than doing that very basic thing of having a normal life?
That's a good point with that. I guess at this one, we're going to end it up. Okay, John, I know you're busy as F right now with your course, so let us know what's on the go, because the guys don't see you every day. Your beautiful face on my channel. So
it just finished. I'm done. So body language mastery is over. We're never going to do it again. But I'm coming up with something new. We just wrapped up 3 weeks of coaching twice a day. Man, it's been wild. It's like the life we've been changing, lives we've been changing. I'm doing the Lord's work over here. I work my ass off every single day with the guys in my community to do what men want: get them laid, get them paid, and get them jacked and have them lose weight. Okay, that's what I do in my community. Dude, hundreds of chicks have been banged because of my dudes. Over $1 million have been generated in revenue from entrepreneurial pursuits, cryptocurrency gains, new jobs. Right. My community is fucking one of the best communities on the planet, period. Okay. And it's only going to get better. All right. You're seeing me level up. You're watching my guys level up. If you want to join me, all you need to do is go ahead, subscribe to my channel. We're going live right after this. I'm fired up. I'm in a good mood. We're doing Dude Party. We're going to talk about Kim Kardashian divorcing Kanye.
Oh, yeah.
Fire, bro, because Kanye's not going to go quiet. I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be an echo of Red Pill spreading throughout the world, because Kanye's pretty stupid. He's smart, but he's also pretty stupid. Like, if anybody's lived in Japan, He's like, he was on the Joe Rogan Experience. He's like, we need to be a place like Japan where there's no systemic racism. I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Christ.
I guess he doesn't know. They still have hard R in there.
Dude, in Japan, you can't rent certain places because you're not Japanese. Like, I'm sorry, you're just not Japanese because your DNA is different than ours. You can't sign up. So we're gonna be talking about the fallout from this because I do think he's gonna drop an album. I think he's gonna red pill a lot of people with his music and his voice about this. I think a lot of men are gonna be watching him get fucking fleeced in divorce court as well. And this is what happens when you marry a whore that's been raw dogged for the entire world to see.
I do not want to believe that.
On my Patreon, I'll teach you how to be rich.
Sounds good. All right, Troy.
Yeah, just join me on my YouTube channel next week for more live streams. We are analysing The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene at the moment, which is an awesome series. So you should definitely come over and join for that. And also, if you want to read some of my wonderful thoughts and experiences and advice, actionable advice on dating and game and how to get through the dating marketplace, then grab Renegade Dating Blueprint, which is a collection of 11 of the books that I've written on those subjects. I'll stick the link in the chat, but grab that. It's only $39 at the moment. So I'll see you guys next week.
All right, then Rolo, lead us to the promised land, brother.
Yay. I'll be on tomorrow, my regular time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I am still doing long form. People keep asking me, are you going to keep doing long form? Yes, I'm still going to be doing my Sunday class. Will be in session, let's just say, and hopefully I won't go for 3 hours. I'm trying to keep it under 3 hours, but I don't know. Sometimes I go and I go and I go. People know that. However, I am doing short form videos right now. I'm doing actual YouTube shorts, hashtag shorts. And then I'm also doing like little quick hit videos, like 20 to 30 minutes as well. I'm sort of experimenting with those things right now. But I'm trying to give you the best of both worlds. So you're going to get like one long form and then like one sort of short form thing later on in the week. If not two, I might even do something else. So this Sunday's topic is going to be on infidelity. A lot of guys kept asking me about, like, what about cheating and monogamy and this. And so I'm going to talk about infidelity. People think, he won't ever talk about that. No, I'll talk about it. And then I'm also going to be working on probably a short form video, like a 30-minute video on chore play, courtesy of you, Ryan, for inspiring me to do that, because I hate
that topic so much.
It's so bad. It's back in vogue, man. It's like it goes through these like cycles. Like I remember back in 2007 when people started talking about chore play. Oh yeah, it's how you're going to get laid. And then like by 2009 or 2010, everybody goes, oh, it doesn't work. And then like 2013. Oh yeah, we need to get back to chore play again. And then 2015, no, it's terrible. And it's like it goes through these cycles. So I'm gonna probably do something about chore play and why it's just from like a sociological perspective. It's
good because the DC Capitol stormer there, Mr. Revolution, cheering it on now.
Wasn't he recommending it?
Literally used the same line that soccer moms use. If I wasn't so exhausted, maybe we'd sleep together more. I'm like, dude, did your wife just tell you that? Oh,
man,
all right. Anyways,
go to the Capitol and do chores.
Yeah.
Anyways, you guys know the spiel. Hope you enjoyed it. A little bit of shucking shit in the chat, which is nice. Good ideas, good laughs. Enjoy yourselves. I don't have a lead out other than these guys